Have you ever noticed that when one specific item can cause you to fight, reconcile, and can also be your reward despite all the problems it created, you end up with one of the worst episodes of the series? Well, that's what Lincoln and his sisters found out in the episode I'm going to talk about today. So join me as I, SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, bring you another retro review from past seasons of The Loud House. Cue the intro! Today's episode is It's a Loud House. In this episode, Lincoln finds a letter in the attic that says the original homeowner stashed a lot of money somewhere in the house, and he and his sisters go crazy trying to find it. Originally, I never had a problem with this episode for the most part because I understood what the story was going for. In its usual exaggerated cartoony way, it was meant to demonstrate how money can bring out the worst in people. I can appreciate that, but how it was handled in this episode was not as good as the way it was handled in the future episode Out on a Limo. Although in fairness, Lincoln didn't actually have any money to flaunt in the latter, but the idea was still there. Plus, when you consider how characters such as Luann and Lori were already shown to have jobs earlier in the season, why they felt the need to fight over something as trivial as a single quarter is just... what the hell? If it was just Lola and one other sibling fighting over money like maybe Lynn, I would be a little bit more lenient because that sounds a lot more up Lola and Lynn's alleys than anyone else's. Instead, all the kids start making a big deal about finding money and claiming it for themselves. Even a more chill character like Luna, so this episode definitely didn't put her in a good light. It's no wonder they were forced to clean the attic as their punishment. Now, in defense to them searching and subsequently destroying the house looking for the supposed fortune Sharon D. Monet left for them, I will say all of them acting crazy and insane is only a tiny bit understandable. For all they knew, it could have been a few $1 million tucked away somewhere, and we all know what kind of power that kind of money has over others. Also, from the looks of it, and despite Lola saying it was every sibling for themselves, they technically started working together, tearing apart the house as one cohesive unit after they were seen working in pairs, solo in Lisa's case, to claim all the money for themselves and potentially only split it with their respective roommate. Mind you, their first time looking for the money was calm and not crazy so as to convince Lincoln they weren't up to the same thing he was secretly trying to do, but eventually everyone figured out what they were all looking for, and thus the fighting began again, but on a more destructive level. I guess the only redeeming moment for them was when all the kids came to realize the one part of the letter Sharon left for them came true, which would be fighting over money would only create issues. Oh gee, really, you think? Lincoln, who I will say was the most tolerable character of the episode, tried to warn his sisters about Sharon's warning, but the girls couldn't care less, so at a minimum he was a saving grace, but not by a whole lot. Still, it is true all the girls do end up having a small moment of self-reflection after Lincoln talks to them, and they all agree to not fight over money ever again. Then they rather conveniently find another letter and a map on Lily's diaper, and this leads them to discovering a large X conveniently drawn in the backyard. They dig up $500 and then celebrate after they all agree to split it evenly among themselves. This is where we find out that Dad was responsible for the whole Sharon D. Monet plot, since he thought giving up his work bonus would be a good way to teach the kids not to fight over money. I'm like, what are you talking about? The kids just ripped apart the entire house looking for the one thing that led them to getting in trouble in the first place, and now they're being rewarded with the very same thing that initiated the conflict, all because they agreed to stop fighting over it? That's just plain stupid. Better yet, how did the dad manage to write and then hide those letters in such a way that the kids would eventually find them? I mean, seriously, that whole thing about getting to the bottom of the matter and then realizing it was a clever way of saying the final clue would be attached to Lily's diaper just came off as overly contrived. Hell, even Lincoln questioned how Sharon could have known a map would be attached to Lily. Did the dad really bank on the idea of his kids eventually making contact with their youngest sister and finding the map to that rather conveniently placed X in the backyard? This entire plan the dad set up is full of holes and doesn't make sense. And don't even get me started on how the dad just somehow didn't consider the possibility of his kids ruining the house at any point during this so-called brilliant plan of his. Why exactly should he be sharing in the cleanup when he didn't cause any of it? Yeah, technically it was his plan that prompted the mess, but the fact the kids are pretty much rewarded for their reckless behavior and not seen cleaning up is just very unsatisfying. They should have been the ones cleaning up the house, not the dad. bad. Overall, I can see why this episode is hated, and I don't like it either. All the kids are presented horribly and very petty in certain areas, and they receive what is effectively a non-punishment on screen despite deserving a huge amount of punishment for their wrongdoings. Lin Sr.'s plan also made no sense because of the contrived way it was set up, and how it just so happened to work out the way he wanted, and yet he, not the kids, can be seen cleaning up the mess the actual antagonist made. The only thing I will appreciate about the story is the lesson about money and greed. Granted, the way the episode demonstrates this moral is done terribly, but at least the attempt was made, and the kids did reflect upon what they learned, so that's a minor positive. Oh, and Lenny does have a subtle moment of intelligence when she picks the lock on the briefcase. It's true when she says there's more to her head than just air, and that's as far as the good things of this episode can go. With that said, I give It's a Loud, 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 Loud House a 1.7 out of 10. Well, folks, that concludes my review of It's a Loud, 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 Loud House. So I gotta ask, what did you guys think of this episode? Sound off in the comments below, and be sure to click that subscribe button for more Loud House related content. That's going to do it for me. I'll catch you guys for the next video, but until then, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, signing off. Peace out, home slices.